Picture this: a remote island, a fledgling English colony, and then nothing. Just an empty settlement and a single, cryptic word carved into a post. This isn't the plot of a horror movie. It's one of America's oldest and most baffling unsolved mysteries: the lost colony of Roanoke. What happened to over 100 men, women, and children who seemingly vanished into thin air? Today, we're diving deep into the historical fog to uncover the story, explore the clues, and weigh the theories behind this 400-year-old enigma. Our story begins in 1587. Queen Elizabeth I's England is buzzing with dreams of New World riches and imperial expansion. Sir Walter Raleigh, a dashing court favorite, sponsors a bold venture to establish the first permanent English colony in North America. He chooses Roanoke Island, a small strip of land off the coast of modern-day North Carolina. This wasn't their first attempt, but this time they were bringing families. Led by Governor John White, more than 115 colonists, including women and children, set sail with high hopes of building a new life. Among them was Governor White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, who would soon give birth to Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. It was a symbol of a new beginning, a permanent foothold in a vast, unknown continent. The colonists arrived on Roanoke Island in late July 1587. From the start, things were difficult. Their relationship with the local Native American tribes, like the Croatoan and the Croatoan, was tense, soured by previous English expeditions. Supplies were dwindling faster than expected, and with winter approaching, the situation grew dire. The colonists realized they desperately needed more provisions, tools, and people to survive. They persuaded Governor John White to return to England to gather reinforcements and supplies, promising to hold down the fort until his return. White was reluctant to leave his family, including his newborn granddaughter Virginia, but he knew the colony's survival depended on it. He sailed back to England in late August 1587, expecting to be back within a few months. But fate had other plans. When White arrived in England, he found the country on the brink of war. The formidable Spanish Armada was preparing to attack, and every available ship was commandeered for the defense of the realm. White's planned relief mission was delayed, then delayed again. For 3 long, agonizing years, he was stranded in England, haunted by the thought of his family and the colony he had left behind. He tried desperately to secure a ship, but the war effort took precedence over everything. Imagine his anxiety, his frustration, watching the seasons change, knowing his people were across an ocean, completely cut off and waiting for a rescue that wasn't coming. Finally, in 1590, John White managed to secure passage on a privateering expedition and made his way back to Roanoke. As his ship approached the island, he must have been filled with a mix of hope and dread. On August 18th, his granddaughter Virginia's 3rd birthday, he and his men went ashore. They found the settlement, but it was deserted. The houses had been dismantled, not burned or destroyed, but carefully taken down. The entire area was silent. There were no signs of a battle, no skeletons, no graves. It was as if the 115 colonists had simply packed up and vanished. The only clues left behind were to carvings. The letters Crow were etched into one tree, and on a wooden post at the entrance to the former settlement, a single, haunting word, Croatoan. Croatoan. What did it mean? Before he left, White had instructed the colonists that if they had to move, they should carve their destination into a tree. If they were in distress, they were to add a Maltese cross. There was no cross. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island, now known as Hatteras Island, and also the name of the friendly Native American tribe that lived there. To White, this seemed like a clear message. The colonists had relocated to Croatoan Island to live with the tribe. He was relieved. His plan was to sail south to find them. But a powerful storm rolled in, damaging his ship and forcing the expedition to abandon the search and return to England. John White would never see his family again. He died without ever knowing for sure what happened to the lost colony. And so, the mystery was born. For centuries, the prevailing theory was the one John White himself believed. The colonists assimilated with the Croatoan people. They moved to Hatteras Island, intermarried, and blended their English lives with Native American culture. This theory is supported by oral traditions from the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, many of whom claim descent from the Roanoke colonists and have English surnames and blue eyes. For a long time, this was the most accepted explanation. It was a story of survival, of two cultures coming together, but without definitive proof. It remained just a story. Of course, other, darker theories emerged over the years. One possibility is that the colonists were attacked and wiped out. Perhaps their already strained relationship with a local tribe, other than the Croatoan, finally snapped. The Spanish, who had a competing settlement in Florida, also had a motive to eliminate the English presence. However, the lack of bodies and the orderly dismantling of the settlement make a violent end seem less likely. Why would attackers bother to carefully take down the houses? Another theory suggests the colonists tried to sail back to England on their own. They had a small ship, a pinnace, left with them. Perhaps, in their desperation, they attempted the treacherous Atlantic crossing and were lost at sea. This would explain the complete lack of physical evidence, but it was an incredibly risky gamble for a group that included women and children. Starvation and disease are also plausible culprits. Without resupply, the colonists would have struggled to feed themselves through the harsh winters. An unknown epidemic could have swept through the settlement. But again, where are the bodies? The lack of any human remains is one of the most perplexing parts of the puzzle. For centuries, the search for answers was limited to historical documents and speculation. But in recent decades, modern archaeology has reignited the hunt. The Croatoan carving has led researchers to focus on Hatteras Island. In the late 1990s, archaeologists began excavating sites there and uncovered a fascinating mix of late 16th century English and Native American artifacts. They found things like English pottery, part of a sword hilt, and even a gold signet ring believed to have belonged to one of the original colonists, all mingled with local native artifacts. This suggests that at least some of the colonists did make it to the island and lived among the Croatoan people. But the story doesn't end there. In 2012, another intriguing clue surfaced from a 16th century map drawn by John White himself. Using advanced imaging techniques, researchers at the British Museum discovered a tiny, almost invisible symbol of a fort hidden under a patch on the map. This symbol was located about 50 miles inland from Roanoke, at a site called Site X. Could this have been the colonists' real intended destination? A place they called the Site of Record. Excavations at Site X have since unearthed more English pottery from the right time period, known as Surrey-Hampshire border ware. This suggests that a small group of colonists may have split off and moved inland, separate from the group that went to Hatteras Island. So, where does this leave us? The mystery of the lost colony is no longer a simple question of what happened, but a complex puzzle with multiple, overlapping pieces. It seems increasingly likely there wasn't one single fate for the colonists. The evidence now points towards a fragmentation. One group likely assimilated with the friendly Croatoan tribe on Hatteras Island, their bloodlines potentially continuing to this day. Another smaller group may have ventured inland, seeking a more secure location, only to meet an unknown end. Others might have died from disease or attempted a desperate journey elsewhere. The truth is probably a combination of these theories. The colonists didn't just vanish. They scattered, driven by desperation and the will to survive. The story of Roanoke is a powerful reminder of the risks and uncertainties of the past. It's a human drama of hope, hardship, and survival against all odds. While we may never have a single, definitive answer, each new archaeological find, each re-examined document, brings us a little closer to understanding the fate of those 115 souls. The lost colonists of Roanoke are not just a historical footnote. They are a persistent whisper from the past, challenging us to keep searching, to keep questioning, and to never stop looking for the truth. What do you think happened to the colonists? Did they assimilate, perish, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for joining us on this journey into one of history's greatest mysteries. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. See you next time.